being in the middle of that beef, did you get any type of backlash from 50 and that whole side of G Unit?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, and you know, it was interesting because I knew I was actually close to 50 in the whole Violator team, and and those guys at the time, we'd done a lot of work, and I didn't have anything like against them. It's not my beef, right? Like I was boys with both of them, right? Like it's like both of your boys are fighting. The way 300 Bars came about, I knew Game. Obviously, I'm in LA, so I'm probably a little closer to Game than I was 50, but was tight with both sides. And then when I remember they had the Peace Street, all these things. He played me the first. He's like, I'm going to diss 50, and he played me the first few minutes of what was 300 Bars, but it was all over one beat. So I went back, I listened to it, I was like, oh, that's cool, but you should switch it up. So I went in my studio just for fun. Like, he didn't ask me to do anything. He wasn't looking for anything. And I started mixing a bunch of beats, and then I emailed it to him, and I was like, yo, check your email. I think you should do something more like that. And it was just like advice, right? Like, I was just like, hey, you should do this. And I thought that would be the end. I thought he might open it and listen and maybe take some direction, maybe not even open it.
Right.
15 minutes later, he calls me. He's like, I'm on the way. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we're recording this. Let's do this. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. And it was funny. When I moved, I was always a DJ, but I moved out to work for Steve. So I was working on the business side first. And at the time, like, I hadn't blown up as a DJ, right? Like, that was what I did, but I was in the industry. And so I didn't even think Game was thinking to like work with me on that. Like, he knew I was a DJ, and I was doing like little mixtapes, but nothing of real note. I was still building my brand.
Right.
We did a lot of other work, and we're just friends from those things. And that's kind of how I was helping advise him. But like, to his credit, like, he was like, all right, let's go do this. He saw that and trusted me. And then we went in, and 18 hours later, finished first half that night, the second half the next day. And then it was like another one of those like pivotal changing moments in my life. And I didn't even realize at first when we were mixing it that my name was going to be on it. Like, because I'm like, oh, he's just going to take this and like, all good. That happens a lot, right? Like, there's a lot of ghost producers in music. And I was like just happy to be a part of it. And like, I just love music, and it was fun for me. And then he's like, oh, let's record the rest. Send me your logos. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, send me your logos. We're putting you on the mixtape. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, for multiple reasons. I was like, one, this is going to change my life, because I knew the impact that song was going to have.
Yeah.
And again, it's like jumping through doors. Like, yeah, it's obvious, but like, is it? And then I knew like the heat and the beef that's in. Like, that was real beef. Like, people literally got murdered in that.
Yep.
In that drama, and being a part of it was crazy. And I got calls from the other side on that, but like, the way I positioned myself was I never tried to be something I wasn't. I'm not out there claiming bloods and doing those things and rolling
interviews.
Like, I'm a producer, obviously. Like, I'm affiliated with Game and on that side and doing all his mixtapes, so there's gonna be that blowback. But like, are you guys gonna go after me, a little white boy from Minneapolis, right? Like, in the middle of this beef that hasn't done anything, that's like the producer and like, and like, here's my thing. The way that I'm able to walk between that world to the same thing with billionaires and investors, and that is, I don't never try to be somebody that I'm not, right? Like, whether I'm here or there. And I think people recognize that. It's when people get out of their comfort zone, and like, if I was sitting there like trying to bang blood, do game things, then like, I probably would have been in some trouble, beef, right? Like, but I never, like, that's not me, right? Like, And I think that, I've taken that same thing to the boardroom, right? Like, and there's been moments where I've tried to like dress up and do the suits and those things, and I'm like, it's not me. That's not what people are bringing in. My advantage is because I can kind of mix and walk between all those worlds. So I've learned to really embrace that. But I think I always did that and was at the middle of it. But yeah, and like, look, going back, would I do it? I don't know, as a 20-year-old, right? Like, being in the heart of this beef, like
20 years
who cares?
old, that's
who cares,
crazy,
right? I was like,
bro.
that was my shot. So,
bro, I was in middle school listening to that on the bus, bro. Like, dude,
this was a wild moment.
Game was going nuts.
He was going nuts.
And then he had like
going back.
5 other mixtapes too on top of that. So it got, and like, that stuff got crazy. And look, I watched over my back. I wasn't dumb with those things, but like, at a certain point, like, you have to choose. Like, if I wanted to make it as a DJ, like, there's everything. What we talk about, pros and cons. Like, that was the path, and otherwise, who knows when it would have happened, if it would have ever happened, right? Like, when that big break would have came. So I had to jump, like, I had to make a decision, and I went all in. And some of it just being young and foolish too, right? Like, looking back, would I put myself in a lot of those situations with a lot of those people? Like, probably not. At this point, you get a little more conservative as you get older. But at that point, I didn't know any better, and I didn't care, and I wasn't hiding, and I wasn't like, I embraced and never tried to be anything that I wasn't.
Was you because LA is known for gang culture. Was you around a lot of gang members around the time?
100%. I mean, like, look at who just the Games crew was, as well as like
Black Wall Street,
all these artists and stuff, right? Like, I was in the heart of that, and like, even some of the OGs embraced me from like Soul